Okay, Stetson Bennett is one of the four finalists for the Heisman Trophy Award. And as a person who actually votes in it, there's only so much I can say about I cannot talk about how I voted. I'm not surprised Stetson got this. I'm not. And I think there's a couple of reasons why. A, just the way that he played this season, particularly on Saturday. And I've been a Heisman voter since 2005, and this is one of the muddiest awards I've ever seen. I do not think he will win the award. I would be pretty surprised. I'd be shocked. But I'm not at all surprised that he got the invitation to New York because, you know, he's just is constantly good. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. He's not always great, but he's constantly good. I think the biggest problem for Stetson has been weather this season. When you look at the Kentucky game and the Mississippi State game, those were not ideal moments for the offense. But other than that, I mean, he dug them out of the hole against Mississippi. He just won the SEC championship with a really good performance. He seems to show up in big moments in big games. I've talked a lot about DAWGSTRUCTION, and Kelee Ringo is on the cover and all this stuff. But I'm gonna tell you right now, there were a couple of moments in Stetson Bennett's career, life, whatever you want to call it. The throw to AD Mitchell was one throw, it was a singular play. We're running out of DAWGSTRUCTIONs. Get it while you can. When I run out for Kelee signatures, I run out. So get them now. But and that link is down below. That drive encapsulates Stetson Bennett at Georgia. And you have to remember how unimpressive Georgia was in the first half of that game against Alabama and what they did in the second half, particularly in the fourth quarter. The drive that got Georgia back in front in that game came after what was a seemingly cataclysmic mistake by Stetson. A fumble that didn't appear to be a fumble necessarily, a very laissez-faire fumble recovery from the Alabama player. All of a sudden, Alabama scores their only touchdown of the game. So Georgia's down. They faced adversity, but they're down after they had gotten momentum. It looked like Alabama was doing what they do. And then Todd Monken and Stetson Bennett said, you know what? We're done with this. We're just throwing it right down the field on their ass. And they did. Every single play in that drive was Stetson throwing it to someone. Jermaine Burton, A.D. Mitchell, I think Kenny McIntosh had it. But that drive defined Stetson Bennett. And that's who he is tough mentally, resilient, and he can make plays. I remember being, it was a Friday night in Athens, and I was talking to two former Georgia players. We were at a place, and was explaining to them, because they're a little bit older than I am, not a lot, but I was explaining to them, I said, I don't think people understand. Stetson Bennett does not view himself the way that other people view him. Stetson views himself as Superman. He thinks he's Superman. And that was kind of the problem in 2020, too. In 2020, was he was trying to do too much. It was this game right here. So, okay. It was the Vanderbilt game where I knew Georgia could or probably would win the national championship. But I did not know that Stetson Bennett would be the quarterback. It was this game, the Auburn game, where this guy was not the same guy. He was, look at the reaction on their face, Zamir and Stetson. He was different. He wasn't playing hero ball at all. He was maturing. They were developing him, and he was taking the development. And I remember when Stetson was at Jones Community College, and there was a real discussion in Stetson world, for lack of a better term, of, what is the next step here? What are we going to do? And I don't think anybody. I can tell you with a lot of authority that going back to Georgia was not in the plans. I mean, I'm just that's what it is. Um, and it happened because of this, that, or the other. It wasn't just Justin Lee. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was going on. And Georgia folks, I know Stetson is very, people in South Georgia are very proud of Stetson Bennett. And they often feel overshadowed by those of us from Atlanta. And, there's more people from Atlanta and all this stuff, and it's a big city. But there's something about Stetson's story, his, like him shaving his head over the, over the summer, and him doing this, or like him crying on the sideline. He's not just a quarterback at Georgia, he is the everyman of Georgia. I'm just telling you, he was a fan before he was a player. Now there's not a lot of guys like that. There's not. I mean, there's no, I mean, I don't know, there's no way Kelee Ringo was a Georgia fan growing up, when he was out west, or specific. Brock Bowers, definitely not. Kelee might be a bad example. Brock Bowers is not a bad example. There's no way. Okay, so um, you know, he's been able to live the dream out that Shock didn't get the chance to live out, and DJ and David, excuse me, and Aaron, and Joe Cox and Matthew, and everybody that's been a quarterback at Georgia. Um, but even more so, guys like David and DJ who grew up in Georgia and understand uh, the madness of it all from start to finish. That's the part that I think um, is hard for folks to grasp. Is that he has lived it his entire life. I asked him after the Tennessee game. I think it was the Tennessee game. I asked him if he thought it was as loud this past fall with the Tennessee game as it was for the LSU game in 13. And at first he thought I was making a joke about his age. And then he realized, he's like, no, wait, he understands that I've been here that long. And he has. I mean, he's been there that long. And he's got both parents went to Georgia. His brother plays on the team. I was at an event, I'm not going to say further than that, where I saw one of his younger brothers when we were. This was before Stetson Bennett was anybody thought about. I think he was number 22 at the time, and his younger brother had his jersey on, and it said older. I think it says older brother or something like that. It did not. I mean, it was. They love Georgia, and they love. They're obviously love their family member, and all of that said, then you've got the rich history of the father attempting to play but not doing it very well at Georgia Southern football, playing there, and realizing that he was not going to be a very successful option quarterback at Southern. His grandfather, who has since passed, being an influential coach in this part of the country at Tennessee and Arkansas and other places, South Carolina. The story of the Bennetts is one of the most fascinating. We all have great stories. I mean, my family has a great story. I'm sure that yours does too. We all got here, right? But it's just bizarre that the when you go and read the story that I wrote 2 years ago about Stetson's family, really more than him, um, and how it just weaves together. It's sad his grandfather didn't get a chance to see this, but that happens for a lot of us. Some of us don't have our parents get to see some of the amazing things that we do, but there's no tougher position in sport, in college sports, certainly, than being the quarterback on an SEC place. And I was talking with my wife last night, who's a Clemson fan, and we talked about DJ leaving um, Clemson, and I said, I think people don't understand how tough it is for the college quarterback and how much they have to go through with the fan bases. Take that with Stetson Bennett and multiply it at least by 3, if not by 30. Again, walk on, left, came back, dismissed by the fan base basically the entire time. 2020, saved Georgia, did not play well against Alabama, clearly. Didn't really play great against Florida, got hurt, and then no one cared about him. Comes back a season later, doesn't leave, hangs around. JT Daniels is the starter. JT gets hurt. He starts in game 2. He's the National Player of the Week for throwing 5 touchdowns. JT, then he guides Georgia to an undefeated season, of which JT, I think, played in, 2 or 3 of those games, the Clemson game and the South Carolina game, but it's basically Stetson other than that. And they're 12-0. They lose to Alabama. And the team did not play well. I think Stetson played okay. It wasn't his best game. And everybody for a month was ready to just vote the guy off the island. And Todd Monken comes in and says, hey, look, Stetson's our quarterback because he's our best quarterback. But all that time, and Aaron Murray can tell you about this, and Joe Cox, and everybody who's played quarterback at Georgia, the amount of mental gymnastics you have to do to deal with this crazed fan base. And then he wins a national championship, and because of him, do not confuse what happened that freezing night in Indianapolis. Stetson Bennett was as much the reason Georgia won the national championship as that defense was. Those 33 points didn't just magically get there via, a pixie or some magical figure that I can't think of the name of it. He threw the ball in the end zone. It was James Cook running. I mean, it wasn't just the defense. Very specifically, it was this drive. Okay? This drive, I don't think this drive gets the attention it should in the history of Georgia football because of this play. But no, there's no question, and I'm not fanboying here. I don't know Stetson. I don't know him in any way, okay? I interview him and that's it. I don't care. I'm just saying, realize what it is. It is one of the great stories in college football history. That doesn't mean he should win the Heisman. It doesn't mean it precludes him from winning a second national championship. It doesn't mean it precludes him from getting drafted in the NFL late. I get aggravated with folks that will not acknowledge greatness. Nick Saban is great. If you not recognize that Stetson Bennett is great, it's a reflection of you. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in college football, but he is great. And he is not like me. He's not big. But I am not like him in that I can't run around like that. I can't make plays like that, and most people can't. And I think when he's gone, which is going to be within a game or 2, only then, just like Aaron and everyone else, only then will people really appreciate what Stetson Bennett has been at Georgia. And frankly, to steal a line from Nick Saban, only then will they realize the value he created, not just for himself, but for the University of Georgia, of which all of y'all are psychopaths about. I mean that in a good way. It's an amazing moment. This is the first time, Georgia can correct me, if I'm not mistaken, that Georgia's had a finalist for the Heisman Trophy since 1992 season. It's 30 years. No Georgia player has been a Heisman finalist. That's crazy. But this guy has. You could not possibly. Rudy was stupid. This is Rudy times 500. And it is just something that, I just can't imagine we'll see this again in college football. Thanks for watching.